What made it clear to you that now was the time to retire?
Well, I'd planned to retire earlier, to tell you the truth. I'd talked to General Funk when he was elected and told him I would stay on for 6 months, basically to help in a transition. Of course, now it's been almost 2 years, but I also talked to the victim in this case and told her I would stay with her through the case. Obviously, I didn't think it'd be 3 years, but it has been. So both of those were the main factors with staying and completing this case. And obviously it's not totally complete yet. There's still 2 other defendants, but I will stay involved in the case even though I'm retired. I may not be in the courtroom, but obviously if they go to trial, I'll be there assisting and helping in the strategy and what's going on in the case.
We all saw that press conference right after the verdict was read, you saying that this was going to be your last closing argument. What was it like giving that closing argument, knowing that this really was capping off your career?
Well, I thought about it before giving it. Once I'm into the argument, one, you're so tired and you do have some adrenaline going from it, and it's very emotional to represent the victim before the jury at that time. So, I was thinking more about that. I thought more about it after I got through, obviously, than before. I was just focusing on the trial mostly.
I mean, you have been the prosecutor for some of the most high-profile cases in this city for close to the last 40 years. As you go through that, what do you take from each of these cases? What do you learn from each of these cases as you have built this career?
Well, you deal with so many different people, so many victims' families, sometimes victims, but most of my cases were homicides, so you're basically dealing with surviving family members. So, you learn how people deal with such tragedy, and you learn as you get more experience how to try to help them deal with it as much as you can in these type of cases. And that's the most gratifying thing, I think, about being a prosecutor, when you are seeking justice and you do get justice for the victims of homicides and their family members. But it's very stressful, obviously, and every case I think may take a little bit of your insides with it when you go. I mean, it's a very difficult profession to be in high-level trials a lot of times, especially homicide cases.
So what sustains you during that? What do you do to deal with all that stress? Because you do have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, and you have for years. What do you do to deal with all that?
Well, you exercise for one thing, rely on your faith for another thing, just to keep you strong and focused.
Is there anything, when you're talking about advocating for victims and things like that, is there anything in particular, one case in particular, that you're the most proud of?
Not really. I mean, every case is important. I try not to measure cases based on publicity, because every victim, every person who's been murdered should get your same attention and should have the same importance. Everyone is a human life. So I don't look at how important the case is based on the publicity. Obviously, I've had a lot of high-profile cases. The Paul Reed case is one. It was such a tragedy for this community. So much devastation done by this one man. I've tried several death penalty cases where just horrific facts, that you have to deal with. Obviously, the Marcia Trimble case was a big case. Janet March's case, where she was murdered, was a big case. But they're all big cases, basically, is what I'm trying to say, I guess, in my mind.
What do you think is the role, or what should be the role of the death penalty in the justice system today?
Well, I think it should be the role to punish the most serious offenders that commit such egregious crimes, that the death penalty is really the only appropriate punishment to deal with those type of people.
And you talked a little bit about publicity, the kind of attention some of these cases got. How did you feel about the media? Did they help? Did they get in the way? What are your thoughts about them over the years?
Well, they help in certain situations, but they get in the way more than they help, probably, I would say. You know, especially with the high-profile cases. I mean, some of the stuff that went on in the Perry March case and things was kind of bizarre. So, you know, they obviously help, I think, by televising the trials, and people get to see from their homes the perspective what's really going on instead of just being able to read it in the paper. So I think it's very important in that situation to open up our courtrooms to so many people all across the country that can actually watch the trial if they would like. So I think that's been an important contribution that the media has given us. So.
For someone who has worked here for so long, what advice do you have for someone who may want to follow in your footsteps, or maybe someone who's in law school right now who is watching this, has seen your career and maybe thinks that's something that they'd like to do?
Well, actually, I've had a lot of lawyers and law students say that by seeing these trials, it's got them interested in going to law school and being career prosecutors. So. You just have to decide what you want in life. Do you want to do service, community service? Do you want to be a trial lawyer, which is a very stressful way to make a living, but it's also you gain a lot from it by being able to seek justice and do the right thing. Or do you want to make a lot of money? Obviously, if you're a prosecutor, you're not going to make a lot of money. So that's a decision they have to make. And you see so many young lawyers that get into it that really love it. It gets in your blood, and that's what you want to do. But then with all the law school debt they have nowadays, they just can't stay in our office a lot of times. So that's a major problem, is to keep young lawyers that really want to stay and really want to prosecute, but they have so much debt that they have to go back into private practice to do it. But you just have to, every individual has to weigh what they think is important in life and what they're willing to sacrifice to do what the job of being a prosecutor, I think.
What do you think is important in life?
Well, I thought it was important. I mean, to me, it's a very big honor and a privilege to serve the state of Tennessee and the people of Nashville and be able to do something that got in my blood. I knew I wanted to be a prosecutor when I was in law school, and I got that opportunity, and I never wanted to leave. I mean, it was a stressful job, but very rewarding job, and I couldn't have picked it any better, I don't think. So I'm never bored, I'll say that.
Is there an art to addressing the jury, whether you're giving an opening statement or a closing statement, just in talking with them to get your message across?
There probably is. I've never thought of myself as a great orator or anything like that, but the main thing I think with jurors is to keep your credibility with them and to be yourself and not try to be somebody else. That's what I tell a lot of young lawyers. Develop your own style. Some people like to be loud, some people like to be quiet, some people in between, but said you've got to develop your own style and be yourself, because that was one thing I learned early on when I was a court officer. I got to sit and listen to jurors deliberate for 3 years while I was in law school. That was invaluable to hear what jurors picked up on in the courtroom and what you wear and what your hair looks like. They speculate about all kinds of stuff about lawyers and everything else. Plus, see what they picked up, a small thing of evidence you may not think is important may become important. So I think it's important to be yourself before a jury and not lose your credibility and let them just, relax and get them to trust you. That's the most important thing.